Hey guys, and welcome to Dan-gler Sea Fishing. Tonight I'm fishing Shanklin. Now let's get fishing.
Daddy's going fishing.
Not again.
Got a new rod and I got some new line. Got a boat, it's just about time to head on out to my favorite spot. It's just about fishing time. Be by, Bicky by, Bicky by, oh, Bicky by, Bicky by.
Hey guys, as I said, tonight I'm fishing Shanklin. I'm not quite where I originally was thinking. I was thinking of going a little bit further, closer to Fisherman's Cottage, but I'm fishing over the low tonight. Now, this is a venue that does fish better on the flood, but it can fish okay on the ebb. I was thinking about fishing Sandown and targeting rays, but there's a southwesterly wind. It would be hitting Sandown where I wanted to fish quite square on. So I've come to Shanklin. There's a little bit more shade, and this venue does tend to fish a little bit better on the ebb. My target is an early sole. So normally I target sole around August, sort of end of summer when it's really hot. That's when I tend to get most of my sole when I target them. But I've come out after a bit of an early one. My alternative target is going to be rays or bass. You can get all of them down here. And there is also a good chance of a couple of bream. I've had some decent bream here in the summer as well. So we might see a few bream, but let's try and catch some fish, shall we? Anyway, let's talk some tactics. So my two rigs that I'm going to be using today are a 2-hook clip down with size 6 match hooks. Reason I've gone size 6 is because I'm trying to target sole. Nice small hooks tend to be best for hook up, I find, on those. And the 2-hook clip down, I do find that having 2 hooks out there, generally if you get a fish take one of them, it can attract the sole, so you've got a better chance of getting them. And I'm going to be using that on a plain lead, but it's a diamond shaped one, so it shouldn't move too much, but maybe just enough to try and entice a sole in there. Then my other rig that's going to be aimed for bass and rays is just going to be a standard pulley. I'm starting with a 2.0 pulley. I'm not going to start with too big a baits, but later on I'll probably move to a 3 or a 4.0 because I'm going to be putting some big baits out there trying to see if I can find a bass over the low. So now we've talked our targets, let's have a look at the bait we've got tonight. So for the bait tonight, I've got some ragworm. It's still wrapped up. I'll get that out in a bit. I've got some squid, I've got some sand eels, and I've got some joey mackerels. And I've been keeping them nice and cool in my new bait bag. I used to have the IMAX bait bag. It was a bit big and bulky, but the zips all went on it. So I've just been out and got this one. It was fairly good value. I think it was like 15 quid, but seems to be quite well made, and hopefully it should be keeping my baits nice and cool. So with the 2.0 pulley pennel, what I'm going to do is I pop 2 sand eels on there. I've just nipped the head and the tail off just so it can bleed out on either end. Then I'm going to pop my 2-hook baiting tool so that it comes out the top, and the sand eels can be wrapped inside, so it would just be the bottom of the heads which will bleed out nicely out of this, and then I'll just have my pennel out the top and the top pennel in the top there. We're losing water rapidly, which was sort of what I was hoping, because I don't really want to get stuck where I am, because it is a little bit more difficult to get to than the usual spot that I go to that you can get to high or low. This one is a bit of a outside of high, you can get to it, but during the high it might be a little bit watertight, and you might have to wander sort of along the edge of the cliff. It's not too bad. It's not like a venue that gets totally isolated where I am. It's just on a high it can be a little bit underwater in places. So these ragworm I've got are quite large ragworm for what I'm doing, using size 6 hooks. That's never a problem, but what I would say is on these you're better off leaving the tail. You want lots of movement there when you're targeting stuff like sole and plaice and flounders, anything that sort of you know, is flat and they like that attention. Leave the tail on there because it will sort of wriggle around. But when you hook it in, try and just put it mainly in this sort of top half of the body, because it stops it going too far up the line, which means that once they've sort of swallowed that worm down, they will take that hook. If it's too far up, they will start nibbling at it at the top, and you probably won't get the hook up. So I do recommend not putting this too far up the line. If you thread it down and say the hook's down here, you're probably not going to hook up. You're better off just leaving it in that top and allowing this to be sacrificial. So this is going to be a venue we're going to be chasing the tide out, but that's one of the sacrifices of fishing somewhere like here. So now that I've got my baits in the water, let's have a look at my setup today. So my setup tonight is my Xenon C6 low diameters. I'm using the pair of them tonight. And I've got them matched up with a pair of Abu Chrome rockets with 12-pound Xenon mainline with a tapered, I think it's 15 to 70-pound shock leader. So for those interested, I have now set up my socials. So I am on TikTok, I am on Instagram, and I am on Facebook. It is Dan-gler Sea Fishing, but the links should be in the bottom of this description if you are interested. I'll probably post on there, not copies of what it is that you're seeing on this. It will be sort of behind the scenes, things that I cut out, just something different. If you are interested, please check them out and drop me a message or a comment. These are quite tippy, these rods, because they're a glass tip. So they should be quite sensitive enough that it should show up on camera if we do get a bite. We are actually remarkably well sheltered from the wind around here. The cliff that you should be able to just see over there just absolutely shelters it on this corner. So it can be really good to come here in southwesterlies. So why have I got the chrome rockets tonight? Because we're fishing fairly clean ground. As you can see, a lot of it is sand here. It does mean I can get a bit of extra distance because there is some reefs further out. That helps me get out to those where I think the fish are probably going to be. As I said, normally you'd want to fish this on the flood. When you're on the flood, it's not so critical to get a bit of distance, but when you are fishing the ebb, you do want to try and get a bit of extra distance, especially where you're going to be chasing that tide out. So the other thing you do get down here, apart from congers and dogfish, the usual, is you can get turbot. They don't get overly big, but I think, as far as I'm aware, the Sandown Bay area is a breeding ground for a lot of species, and I think turbot are one of them, because we tend to get turbot sort of around this size coming in around the bay. So one of them would be quite cool. So as this tide is ebbing, you can actually see the ledge of Shanklin Ledge just coming out. Looks like there's some people around there. They must have been round in Luckham Bay during the high tide, and they're just working their way back now. But there's actually a ledge that comes right out, and you can just see that starting to resurface as this tide is dropping. So one of the good things about fishing the ebb is at least you're not trotting back with your line all the time, so you get worried about how much line is left on your spool when you put a big cast out there. These spools are not massive, so they don't hold a huge amount of line, and a big cast can get it quite a long way down. So when I do have to trot back quite a lot, it does make me a little bit nervous. Normally when that's the situation, I tend to use my 7HTs. They can fit a hell of a lot more line on there. Downfalls to following the tide down is obviously your lines will drop, and when they drop, they can drop into that surf and you can pick up a load of weed, and then your rods are just going to nod away because you've got weed on the line. But we haven't got much surf, so it's fine. Doesn't look like there's a huge amount of weed out there at the moment. Fingers crossed. I don't mind fishing this at the moment because we've had some nice sort of swells and strong winds coming in, which would have stirred it up a little bit, which does tend to make it fish better, the bay. When there's been prolonged spells of calm weather, the bay can go very quiet. As you can see, there's nothing really to draw the fish into this. So unless it gets a lot of stirring up, there's not a lot of food here. When it's been rough, what it does is obviously it stirs it right up and it unlocks a load of food that is in that sand. But when it is flat calm, that can just all get fished out, and then there's nothing really for them to eat to bring them closer in. So unless you can hit those grounds that they're feeding on regularly, you will struggle. Ooh, a little pool. Doesn't feel like there's anything on here. Well, that was a little sign of life. There's nothing on there, but I wanted to move the rods further forward and I wanted to check, see how much bait we had in case we were being robbed by crabs. I do love this setup when I've got the rockets on there and it's nice smooth ground and you get these rods and a plain ledge, you can flick it such a long way. It's really satisfying. I do enjoy that. It is nice to fish a nice smooth easy fishing venue for a change, rather than some of the rough snaggy, you know, fight all night sort of venues. So I've not done too much. I'm trying you at a different angle to see whether, I don't know, maybe it offers a little bit more when I'm fighting a fish, or sort of, you know, I don't know. See how it works, see how the angle looks. It looks like you can still see okay. So on that 2 hook clip down, that little pool we had, the bottom worm had gone and there was just a small bit of head left on it. I don't know if it was a fish or a crab, not sure, hard to tell. It was just a sort of a pool, but nothing sort of, it wasn't erratic or anything. But where we do have that plain lead, it can make it a little bit harder to set the hook, so we have to keep an eye on it. I did wind it in a bit quick. Reason being was I was getting ready to bring it in at the point that it went, so mainly because I wanted to move further down, because I was worried about this one getting a bit stuck into the edge of the tide there. But this one's probably going to have to come in fairly soon so that I can recast it out because of that shortness of distance now. This is like a proper summer's evening, this, but in the beginning of June. Yeah, it's lovely. It's nice and warm, it's calm, conditions are fairly lovely. Tomorrow, horrible again. Work that out. So we do actually have quite a long time to go till the bottom of the tide. 11 o'clock is low tide and it's just coming up for 9 now. So we still got like sort of 2 hours worth of that tide dropping before we reach the bottom of the tide. There is actually in front of me here, there is sort of like a gully opening up that's got like a load of weed and stuff in it. And I will be intrigued to see whether that holds a load of sand eels, because that might give us an idea of what we can sort of expect the conditions on things feeding around here. Might be a case of, if that is the case, of dropping it back a little bit, see if anything's going to hoover them up. So you will notice tonight I will belt pretty much most of them out all night. When it is on the ebb, as I said, distance does become a bit of a key down here to trying to find the fish. When it's on the flood, you can drop them in nice and short, you will pick up fish that way, but when it's on the ebb, it's distance. So, as I was saying, it's just a desert. As you come out here, it's just sand, 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 and then as you get further out, that's where you start hitting some rocky reefs. But they're quite a long way out, so most of the time you're fishing here, you are fishing on sand, which is why you need that turbulence to shake it all up, you know, unearth worms and sand eels and all sorts of stuff that lives in the sand. get all of that up, break it up, kill a few things, you know, bring in some debris so that the bigger fish want to come in to feed here. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to bait up this joey mackerel. So first what I like to do is just like to chop the nose off, just so we can get loads of blood out of there. You've got like a main sort of blood vessel through here as well, which will make it bleed more. So you can cut slightly more at an angle. So what I want to do with this one is I just want to run up the body, just off the main bone there, and then I just want to put a small incision down, and then I'm just going to run up the other side till I hit that bit, and then this middle bit should just slot out, and then there is our next bait ready to go out. So that's going out after a bass or an ungulate. We've just chopped that middle bone in, which we're stamping to the ground. Hopefully that little bit of footage should be a bit easier to see, because I just realised what I need to do is I need to change my camera so that it's on the 0.5, not the 1 zoom setting, so that I've got a bigger field so that you can see a bit better. So when I bait that up, what I like to do is I just like to pop it on upside down with the head at the bottom. And then what I want to do is I just want to pop some bait elastic around the head. And then this part of the body, I'm just going to whip it tight. So I don't actually want it flapping, but I just want it open so that there's not a bone in there, so it's nice and soft. So it makes sort of like a diamond shaped sort of thing. Well, it may be cone shaped is probably a better description. And that's what I'm going to use next on the bigger rig. So I've got myself right on the edge of the water here, probably a little bit to a point that I might be getting the box a bit wet here, but it is waterproof, so we should be all right. Yeah, so I've just sent that mackerel out, nice long cast right out into distance. Hopefully we can see if we can possibly pick up an ungulate. That's what I was hoping with that mackerel, but you never know, might pick up a bass. Bass is also on the hope card. But, you know, with mackerel, you could get dogfish, could get those turbot, anything along them lines. But now that we're starting to see a bit of darkness come in, I'm hopeful that we might start to see a few more bites. So, I'm trying something different with my hat tonight as well, because it keeps annoying me that the peak gets in the way when I'm trying to look at fish and bait up and everything, because I have to angle it so far down, but then it's useless for me spotting fish in the shallows. So what I tend to do is I tend to swap over and put on a woolly hat or something. I always generally fish in a hat. But it suddenly dawned on me that if I turn it around the other way, I haven't got the peak, but I've still got the hat on. So I thought I'd try it this way around and see if it's any better. So you guys probably can't see, but just down from here is the Shanklin Deep Sea Fishing Club. They sent a little boat out earlier and I watched it go out. It's literally just positioned, I don't know, about 150 odd meters off those rocks that are just sticking out at the surface there, off that ledge. So they're probably just fishing off that ledge for bass. And that's the Connor fast reels. Blew up mid-cast, unfortunately. It's a nice cast as well. Just tried doing it a bit too hard, and it's just line must have not been sat too well, and it's blown up mid-cast. So I'll be on a different reel on this one. So if you are fishing with a plain lead and you want it to move around, try and keep your snoods quite short. Yeah, so as I said, if you are fishing with plain leads and you do want it to roll around, try and keep those snoods quite short. As you can see, this one isn't very long at all. So I think it's showing up on camera, but there is millions of bugs down here, like mosquitoes and that. They're just all sort of going past in the wind. It reminds me of those films, you know, like where you see lots of bats fly out of a cave. They just seem to be whizzing past like in their millions. And it almost looks like it's snowing at times. So just beating up the next one, I'm literally just going to send out a double sand eel. So again, just taking the head off just behind the gills, and then just nip the tail off, and then I'm going to bound them together, and I'm just going to place the pennel hook, the bottom pennel hook just in between the two there, and then same at the top, but just slightly nicked into the fish coming out. There is so many bugs here, it is ridiculous. So there we are, that's how I've just baited up that double sand eel. So as you can see, I've just whipped it up, and I've just got that bottom hook in between the two fish, and then the other one just nipped in through the side of the tail. Oh, that was a nice bite. Right, we're going to leave that on a little bit longer because that was actually a bite. I think. I hope. Right, so the time is 10:10. This is the cast that I am expecting to see some action on, mainly because 11 o'clock is low tide, and I think around 10:30 we're going to start getting towards the slack water, and that should be when the fish come onto the feed. It is dark now, so hopefully we can start seeing a few actions soon. But one thing is now that we're a bit further out, we can feel the wind a little bit more. That looked like a bite. What's crazy is that wind you couldn't feel when I was, you know, a bit further back on the beach. But now that I've come out, what, 10-15 meters from our last spot, it feels so strong, that wind, and it just goes to show how much that cliff shelters it. We're just sort of beyond the edge of the point there now that I think it's just starting to clip us. I'm gonna have a look at this one. I don't know if it's got weed or what on it. Oh, I do think there's a fish on it. There's definitely a fish on there, I can feel it. Did look like a ray bite earlier, so fingers crossed. No, it's conger. I got my hopes up that that could have been a ray, but it was a conger. Funny bite. Didn't bite like a conger. Well guys, we're not blanking at least, so that's a result, but not quite what I was after. Little conger, little strap, but he went to the double sand eel. I was hoping he might have been a ray. It was such a weird bite. It sort of pulled down earlier, then didn't really do much, but I was using a very long pulley pennel, so I wonder if that was maybe it. But anyway, I'm gonna get this guy back, and then hopefully, now the fish are on the feed, we might find some more fish. Well, I was right that it would come in on those casts, luckily. I mean, it was an educated guess that it would probably be the bottom of the tide that we might see some fish showing. It's a shame that we've got quite a bit of wind now, but hopefully that's the start of something. I did really hope, because it was like a slow pull that was on that, and then it didn't really do a lot. So I did wonder if possibly it could have been a ray. Not a big one, just a small one. And then when I started bringing it in, I could feel something. So I thought it could be a ray. but it turned out to just be that strap conger. But at least it's a fish we've got going. That can be a relief sometimes, is just catching that fish. Although it would make my wife very happy if I could catch something that we could eat for dinner. Oh. Feels like we might actually have one this time. Could be another strap conger. Maybe if I say that, it won't be. Well, there we are, another fish for tonight. So that's just a little pout. I'm not going to keep him tonight. I'm not, you know, conger hunting or anything, but that is quite a good size for a bait. I mean, you could pop that out there for a bass, but I'm going to pop him back and just carry on as we are and see what else we can catch. Well, 2 fish in the last 2 casts. It's starting to get better. Only thing is that wind, I don't know about you lot, makes my hands go numb. It's not even a cold wind, but it just, I don't know, it must sort of like get into your fingers or something, but my hands are freezing. Oh, you scared the crap out of me, Mr. Fox. Oh, well, I came out of the light a minute ago and there was literally a fox about 3 meters away from me. Absolutely scared the living life out of me. I might pop a little video of me feeding him a bit of leftover mackerel now.
There you go, look. What's this? What's this?
So you might notice that I've now put my bait bucket under my tripod. The reason for that is I'm trying to keep it in the light, because whenever I have to go down to the water with my fishing rod, I'm worried that the fox is going to come and steal either my bait or... Oh, hello, we got a bite. Ooh. There we are, guys, a sole and a bass on the 2-hook clip down. Right, let's have a look, see what size and weight these are. So yeah, guys, beautiful sole. I'm gonna pop him back. I could weigh him in for my sole comp, he is in size, but he's only little, he's 7.5 ounces, and I'm gonna pop this guy back. Well, guys, on that lovely double shot, I'm gonna call that a night. And it's been a good night. I came here after sole and a bass, and I caught a sole and a bass, a conger and a pout. Anyway, if you are enjoying my videos, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for watching, and until the next one, I'll see you then.